There's a big debate around whether you should chase active income or passive income. In one camp, you have the Dan Locks, the Grant Cardones, the Gary V's, the Dave Ramseys who say your income is your most powerful tool. You can hustle, you can make more money, build that income, build your business, bring more home, and then just park that money and have it sitting there and waiting for you. And in the other camp, you've got Rich Dad who says, hey, you need your money working for you. You've got people in the digital nomad space who will say, you don't want to trade your time for money. In this video, I'm going to address exactly the strategy that I use and I recommend for active versus passive income and why most passive income isn't nearly as passive as you think it is. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson, and I've always found this debate to be very interesting. Do I want active income or do I want passive income? I think that the first challenge when you're asking this question is, why is passive income the goal? I understand and I value my time, and I don't want to necessarily be trading time for money. But I also understand that if you're an entrepreneur, if you like to hustle, if you love what you do, you could sell your business, you could retire, but you're not really going to be happy doing that. You're always going to want to be doing something that brings value to the world and for which you're getting paid for that value. So the idea that we're all looking to get rid of our active income and quickly turn that cash into passive income, I think is a fallacy. But here's the challenge from my perspective, having made investments all around the world, is that most businesses that you think are passive aren't passive. It becomes a situation most of the time of managing the managers. I used to run a swimming pool business in the United States. It was one of the numerous investments that I made when my radio business was going rather well. And it was actually the most successful kind of side hustle that I had. And I look back on that and say, I probably could have run that swimming pool business. I had a manager in place, I had people, I had a team. I could have run that while living overseas full time. But then it becomes a situation of managing the managers. I'd be calling in with the manager. What's going on? How many new accounts do we have? What's happening? Who didn't show up for work today? That's not a passive income. In the same way, the 4-hour work week muse that you set up that allegedly runs itself, it's an affiliate marketing business or it does whatever else, that's not really passive if you have to manage it in some way. Even most real estate investments aren't passive because either you're dealing with the calls, you're dealing with the nonsense, or in my case, I made 2 small investments in the United States, and I had a property manager. The property manager was bad. Then I had to get a lawyer. Then the lawyer, I had to manage the lawyer. Then the real estate agent selling the properties. At the end of the day, I came out all right, but it was a lot of headache because I just got into properties that shouldn't have been passive income. They seemed passive because, the government gives you the money. But in reality, it was the least passive income of any investment I've ever made, and it was probably the worst deal that I've ever done. But as the Nomad Capitalist, I also take a bit of a different view at active versus passive income from a tax perspective, particularly if you're a US citizen, because it's a lot easier to offshore an active income if you run a business, no matter what that business is. Even if you think it's passive, the reality is that from a tax perspective, that passive business selling stuff online is probably considered an active operating business. And those are businesses that you can easily go out and you can migrate them into an offshore company. You can collect your money offshore. You can take your salary, your dividends, whatever the case may be, from that offshore company. And potentially, depending on where you're selling, depending on where the employees are, depending on a whole host of factors, in a perfect scenario, that business could be totally tax-free or pay very little tax because it's an active business and there are advantages for that kind of business. On the passive side, if you have a real estate investment, you're going to be tied to where that asset is. So if I own real estate in the US, even though I'm a non-resident alien of the United States, that asset's in the United States. They're charging me a tax on any income I make for the privilege of earning money in their territory. Now, what we talk about here is go where you're treated best, find the best real estate investments, and that includes real estate investments in places with low tax. So if I want to go to Georgia, for example, and I can buy residential real estate, there's a 5% income tax on that. That's a pretty good deal, and that may be a good place to go, assuming that all other things are equal. But Real estate investments, even many stocks, many different types of passive income are going to be subject to some kind of tax, whether it's a withholding tax or just a local source tax on the income that you earn from them. So if you're a U.S. citizen or a U.S. green card holder, you're never going to be able to have passive income that is tax-free no matter where you live, because passive income by default is taxed to U.S. citizens. There is no foreign earned income exclusion for passive income. That doesn't mean that if you're in the business of renting real estate, that couldn't be an active business, but any kind of passive income that it's not your career, that's not your job, your business, you're just going to pay tax on that in the U.S. If you're not a U.S. citizen, if you're just everybody else, you're still going to pay tax on the source of the income. So it's possible you could do some stock trading, you could do stuff like that, you could earn some dividends tax-free depending on what those stocks are. It just becomes a lot more complicated. So my personal strategy is someone who has a very low tax lifestyle, is I like to focus on active income. I'm constantly growing my business, and in the past we had little side businesses that also made money. Now I'm focused on one thing, and I'm going to take some of that money that I earn and I'm going to reinvest it in the business. And when I finally feel like, okay, I can't reinvest in the business anymore, or I've reached the maximum that makes sense right now, I'm going to take the rest of that money and store it. And I am going to put that into passive income, but I'm going to take it and put it in the sense of passive investments. I'm going to buy real estate in countries where I think there's going to be growth, because growth is often taxed better than income. If I can go to a country and I can hold a property for 2 years, and after that there's no capital gains tax, I can sell that property in 2, 3, 5, 10 years when it's doubled, and I can keep all that gain tax-free. I focus more on the growth than on the yield, because I already have yield being generated in my business. So I want passive growth and I want active income. The question that you have to ask yourself is, how much money can I put back into my business? Because that's the most tax optimized way to get more income. Okay? The passive income is not as tax optimized in most cases. If you can take $100,000 in profit in a month and put half of that back into the business, and that can have a 3 or 4 or 5x multipliers, I know a lot of guys in e-commerce, for example, often do, then you're just going to be priming the pump and creating more and more money that can go through your foreign company where you control the terms, because you control everything. Okay? And then, and only then, once you have more money to put into passive stuff, go over and focus on growth. So my takeaways are, be honest with yourself. Is passive really passive? Are you chasing passive because it's the thing to do? Are you chasing passive because you shouldn't trade time for money? If you can get your business humming along to where you have a team managing it and you're focusing less time, accept that that's an active business, put more money back in until you no longer have potential for more growth, and then create your long-term strategy. From my perspective as the Nomad Capitalist, I see tremendous opportunities for you to do that and to go where you're treated best.
I'm Andrew Henderson, and if you're looking for a way to legally reduce your taxes, build your freedom, and create wealth faster as a global citizen, then you've come to the right place. I want you to do 3 things right now. Number 1, click the button to subscribe to our channel. Make sure to get notifications so you never miss a new video. Number 2, get a copy of our #1 best-selling book, Nomad Capitalist, on Amazon, and learn all of the dozens of benefits of our lifestyle. And number 3, if you're already a 6 or 7-figure entrepreneur and you want to put these strategies in place, go to nomadcapitalist.com and find out how to get some help.